Alasdair, welcome to Series 6. Hello.
Series 6 recording on January the 6th. Where were you on January the 6th, Sam?
I was recording Season 6 of Wholala. Oh my god, Season 6 recording January 6th. My goodness.
Oh my goodness. You weren't doing any insurrections this year, darling.
No, I was not too. I was far too busy planning out this week's episode.
You learned your lesson.
For the record, Samuel Player has never appeared at an insurrection in the United States of America or anywhere henceforth on planet Earth. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Where were you January 6th? What were you doing?
What was I doing? Today I was working.
Oh, no.
Like
it was back to
story.
work. Well, because for you lovely listeners listening to this, we will have had a week off. You'll be listening to this well into the midst of January. We'll have all forgotten the Christmas holidays by then. But we're staying true to keeping ahead, and we're recording this quite early in January. And today's the day we all went back to work. Little time capture's been a bit. How was it for you?
Well, I ran out of annual leave over Christmas, so I had to work a lot of days anyway. So which I would not recommend doing, but it does ease you in. I did feel a little bit smug today. It was a bit like I'd woken up an hour before everyone else because I was like, well, I've already scheduled all my messages. I've already got my to-do list done. So that was the one upside, is I didn't have severe scaries last night.
That's good.
So I was all right. It was fine. A pretty average Monday. Tell you what I just did though for fun this evening is I rewatched The Time of the Doctor.
Oh, it's such a good one.
And we haven't covered it yet, and I'm excited for when we eventually do because I love it.
It's so good. Christina Rotondo inadvertently stopped us talking about it. We were like, next week we're talking about Time of the Doctor, and then the next week came along and we were like, we're talking with Christina Rotondo.
Christina Rotondo. Good excuse to not cover it. It's a really good episode. Like it's actually a great example of Doctor Who is the best and worst show in the world because there's moments of it that are inexcusably bad. Like there's bits of it you're just like, what the hell is going on? Why is the Doctor flashing Clara at this point in time? Why is he bald? And in universe, there's no answer for those things. But it's at the same time, there's emotional beats and moments in it, and it's just some of the best it's ever been.
Yeah, no, it's very, very good. I do look back on it, and I really, exactly like I said, what's really funny is when you went home and when everyone went home from our New Year's party, me and a few people were still hanging out, and we were like, we should watch something easy and maybe have a couple drinks. And we just watched The Time of the Doctor when we were all quite like drunk at the end of the New Year's party. And like you said, it's just so emblematic of like the best and the worst show in the world.
It really
where
is.
You have like Tasha Lem being like, oh, sexy doctor, and then 2 minutes later she's like, I died in this room screaming your name. And I was like,
I know.
Yeah, it's dramatic.
Gag. There's moments in it as well that watching it with my boyfriend who's never seen it before, just a little thing that we were having dinner with tonight, and that it was just on. And there's bits of it as well that come up that I'm like, oh my God, gag incoming. Like when I know that Karen Gillan is about to come down the stairs at the end, I'm like, here it comes. And it's just two bitches in wigs telling each other exactly. When Peter Capaldi appeared in a sneeze, he was like, is that it? I was like, that is it.
It was very much that being Gavin and Stacey with that, is that it?
Is that
it's just not the thing you expect to see when you're walking to work in the morning.
It's funny because he's seeing all of it out of order. He's seen Deep Breath, but he's not seen The Time of the Doctor, so he's seen the whole next story, but not this bit.
Yeah, it's so funny because like you said, like this, I think The Time of the Doctor more so than many regeneration stories, it's a real love letter to what came before and like tying up loose ends, but also a real tease into like what we're going to get coming up and like where we're going with the character. And I think Moffat had really planned out, arguably in a way almost better than any other Doctor, planned out teasers for what was going to be in Capaldi's era, like leaving the phone hanging when Clara comes into the TARDIS, like he knew what he was going to do with that, and having the flash, you know, in the 50th anniversary of the 12th Doctor's face, like little things like that. He really knew where he was going into that era, which is really fun. It's a very good episode.
Also, last note I'll make on that, at no point, when she comes back to the Doctor and she's been gone for 300 years relative to him, and he's looking older and he's got his prosthetics on, at no point does Clara say he looks old. Never.
No, I thought that.
And I was like, lovely setup for Deep Breath, because Vastra kind of accuses her of like, oh, just because he got old. And she's like, don't you dare. Don't you dare. There's one thing the Doctor says to her, which is like, you got young. Were you always this young? And she's like, no, that was always you. And that's it. Like, she really didn't care. She was in love with that man.
Yeah. Exactly. I've never really thought about it like that. I don't want to make this a Time of the Doctor
No,
episode,
sorry.
but no, don't apologise. Because otherwise I will just. The only reason I'm saying that is because otherwise I will keep talking about it. But I've never really thought about that in succession to each other, like Time of the Doctor going into deep breath. We've already covered deep breath on the podcast, but that interrogation scene with Vastra and Clara, when she's just come off the back of losing her best friend effectively, and also seeing him get older than she's ever seen anyone, hundreds and hundreds of years older, to then be accused of throwing the Doctor away because he got old, is so insulting to Clara. And it is, and you see it is so insulting to her. Oh, I can't wait to watch it again and we actually do a proper episode on
television.
Beautiful piece of television. But yeah, alas, that is not where we're going. I'm gonna explain in a little bit what we're going to be talking about. But I thought we might be able to read a couple of anecdotes.
Oh, a couple.
We've got a couple of emails. So this
lovely.
We're not doing like an episode recap this week. We're doing something a bit different. So I thought we've got a little bit more time at the beginning of the episode. So we got an email. Actually, it's not a anecdote. It's an email from Cece. They said, Dear Sam and Alasdair, I was wondering if you could do an 11th Doctor episode when you come back from your break. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you've hardly covered the 11th Doctor era, which feels like a crime against humanity. A Good Man Goes to War is a personal favourite, but any episode from that era would be fantastic. Happy New Year.
How funny you mention that.
It's so funny. Like, I didn't actually plan to read that one because we were talking about this just now. But we've had a little chat about where we're going to go in season 6 of Wholala, and we definitely will be taking some pit stops in the 11th Doctor's era. So a lot of exciting stuff, Cece. Thank you for emailing.
Thank you so much.
And we've had a couple of emails from Ezra, and they had this fun story. They were telling us, they said, when I went to Lihu? Summer 2023. Lihu? I'm so sorry. I think it's Lihu. I don't know what that is. I'm so sorry. I have to explain what that is. I was at the vendor hall talking to someone. I noticed they went quiet, so I looked over to the entrance and I saw that Sacha Dhawan had walked in. Everybody was silent and no one was moving. I've also got to point out, he's even more attractive in person. You know what, Ezra? I can't blame you. I'm sure he is. I would love to meet him. Beautiful piece of human.
Beautiful bit of human. Oh, you know what I think it is? I think is it Long Island Who Convention? I think it could be.
It could be. It could be Long Island Who. Well, thank you. You've opened my eyes some more conventions. Thank you so much, Ezra.
Well, thank you for your lovely letters. Unfortunately, we can't return them to you, but you can send them over to us at Blue Peter, P.O. Box.
Oh my God, it's too funny. No, thank you so much for all of your emails. You can send them over to us at hulalapod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your Doctor Who anecdotes, your fun stories from across the Whoniverse.
Tea. Well, we better get into the meat of today's episode. This was an idea that you pitched based on some conversations we were having with friends.
It was, yeah. So basically, friend of the pod, Josh and I were talking a while ago, and then you were chatting with him not that long ago about the differences between Doctor Who Series 1, 2005, and Doctor Who Season 1, 2024. And we were saying, Season 1, it was good, but it felt like, you were restricted by the 8-episode format. It felt like there was stuff maybe missing. And we were thinking back to 2005, we were like, oh my goodness, we had like a whole 13-episode series, plus a Christmas special within the series, so 14 episodes total, with one of them being a longer special. I wonder what would happen if you applied that episode format to the new series. And then me and Alice touched base and we were like, there's a Wholala episode here. We were just kind of bouncing back from each other. And we were like, this is really interesting to like think about. And I'd be so curious to hear what you lovely listeners have to say as well. So I'll preface this as well by saying this isn't going to be like a series 1 good, season 1 bad, because that's not what I think. I think there's lots to love and a lot to dislike in both. But I think that the series might have benefited from a longer format. So without any further ado, we are going to dive into what if. It's our little what if Marvel series. What? We're going to ponder the question. What if? What if Season 1, 2024 had the same episode format of Series 1, 2005?
This is a really interesting one because, well, you sent me a bit of a challenge for this one. You said, go back and, first of all, see if you can condense Series 1 to be the same length as Season 1 and chop some episodes. So I had to approach this in my totally normal way and look at the audience appreciation index for all of the episodes to work out who I would upset the least. No, so if you're not aware, the audience appreciation index, it's a measure of 0 to 100. I don't think anything ever gets to 0. And it's the public's appreciation for either a TV show or a radio program. in the UK. So the score is taken the day after something is broadcast, and then it's kept internally within the BBC, and then at some point they publish it. And it's a way of assessing the level of appreciation by viewers for programmes, usually useful for small or specialist audiences. So if a television programme has performed only passably in ratings, I'm not making any comments about that, yet achieves a high audience appreciation score, it can help determine whether or not the programme should be recommissioned. Not that there's any question about whether or not Doctor Who's going to be recommissioned by the BBC.
Oh, yeah.
So internal guidance to BBC production staff, allegedly, is that an AI of 85 or over is considered to be excellent. Over 90 is exceptional. 60 or less is poor, and less than 55 is very poor. So all of season 1 got under 50. Just kidding. It all did very well. So they recently released the Audience Appreciation Index scores for season 1. I think we already had them for the 60th anniversary specials. The 60th anniversary specials all did really well. They got an average of 84, which is almost excellent. And then the scores for season 1 were pretty good. They ranged from 75 to 81. Can you guess what the lowest episode was?
Was the lowest episode Space Babies?
The lowest episode was Space Babies. Can you guess what the best ranked episode was?
Well, I think, for me, the best episode is Rogue, but I don't think that would be the best rank. I think maybe 73 Yards is the best rank.
It was actually The Legend of Ruby Sunday.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I would not have... I was going to say The Devil's Cord, if not. That's interesting.
But if you exclude the church on Ruby Road because it's Christmas, which makes everything weird, the episode with the best audience share was 73 Yards, if that's interesting to anyone.
Okay. No, that is interesting.
Also, this is interesting fun fact for me. The Star Beast was the highest audience appreciation score on Doctor Who since World Enough and Time in 2017. Plus, I assumed that all of Series 1 of RTD1, 2005, would have scored very highly, but Rose actually only scored a 76, which is worse than The Devil's Cord and 1 point better than Space Babies.
That's so interesting.
The highest scores of RTD1 were Doomsday with an 89.
Okay.
And The Stolen Earth and Journey's End both received the highest score of 91.
What was the highest score for Series 1, 2005?
That is such a good question, Sam. It was, let me have a look. It was the final episode, The Parting of the Ways.
Okay, that makes sense.
With an 89, yes. Throughout Series 1, the score kind of just like climbed all the way up, all the way through.
Yeah. I think I find it really difficult to rank them. I want to watch all of New Who again this year because there's so many episodes I've only watched once and still a couple, only like 1 or 2 now, but a couple episodes I've never seen of the later series. So I want to watch everything in order. And we don't rank episodes on Wholala. That's just not something that we do in our format. But I was like, okay, let me try and give like a ranking for these episodes as I watch. So as I watch it, I like give them a little ranking. But then like an hour later, I look at the rankings. I'm like, no, I don't agree with that. And then like an hour later, I'm like, no, I want to change that. So I just find like how I rank the episodes fluctuates so much.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same.
Fickle. I did want to say, I did give a few 10 out of 10s, which I stand by. I gave Dalek a 10 out of 10. I think it's fantastic. Yeah. I gave Father's Day a 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Funnily enough, I gave The Empty Child an 8 out of 10 and The Doctor Dances a 10 out of 10. I think The Doctor Dances... I am not going to lie, I cried while I was watching The Doctor Dances. I teared up. I did.
Did you?
I did. And then I gave The Parting of the Ways a 10 out of 10 as well. So, yeah. I think... Again, I'm not pitting them against each other, but arguably for me, I think out of all of Doctor Who, like all of New Who, arguably out of all of Doctor Who, I think Series 1 2005 is universally believed to be probably the best one.
Interesting. I haven't got any rankings off the top of my head for that series. What I've then done is I've gone through and reordered the season. If you'd like to know what order.
Oh yeah. So this is Doctor Who season 1 2024, but you've kept the episodes and just like reordered them.
I've done a few things here, Sam. I've done a few things. One is I've reordered all of the new season.
Okay.
And then I've also done a new cut of Series 1 where I try and whittle it down to just 8 episodes. And I'll tell you what I've chopped and why I've chopped it.
Yeah.
So that was quite painful to do.
Exciting. Well, I've done a couple of things myself. What's quite fun is what I've done is a little bit different to you. So it's like a completely different like take on it. I've done 2 things. One, I have taken Doctor Who Series 1 and cut it down to 8 episodes and a Christmas special, similar to what you did. And I'll explain why I've done what I've done. But within that, I've then said which 2 episodes I would change to make them Doctor Light, because we have the 8 episodes in season 1, but 2 of them are Doctor Light. And I was like, okay, well then, if I had to make 2 episodes Doctor Light, which ones would I make them and why? And then the other thing I've done, which is really fun, I can't wait to dive into this, is I've taken Doctor Who season 1, 2024, and I've expanded it into a 13-episode series with a Christmas special, and I've said what I would do, where I would rejig them, and what I would add. And that I'll save that till later in the episode, but that I'm excited to dive into.
Tell you what's going to help with that as well, Sam. There's a secret third thing I've done. I found the match thematically for every episode of series 1 with its counterpart in season 1 to find what the gaps are.
Oh my goodness. You listeners are in for a treat today. Sometimes we just watch an episode of Doctor Who and we just chat about it and we're like, yep. But for this week, we've actually like put our heads to the grind and we were like, okay, this is what we would do if we were the showrunner. Well, in case anyone needs a little refresh, let's remind our lovely audience what was in series 1 and season 1. So series 1, 2005, opens with Rose. We then have The End of the World, The Unquiet Dead, Aliens in London, World War III, the Slitheen two-parter, Dalek, The Long Game. And The Long Game is like a precursor to the later episode as well, which I like. Father's Day, The Empty Child and the Doctor Dances, the Empty Child two-parter. Boomtown, which is a sequel to the Slitheen two-parter. Bad Wolf, Parting of the Ways is the series finale. Then The Christmas Invasion is the Christmas special. Is it series 1? Is it series 2? I don't know. Here I'm including it as series 1, so I jump between. Then season 1, 2024, like you were saying, it's 2023 for the Christmas special going onwards. We start with The Church on Ruby Road, which is the Christmas special. Then the series episode 1 is Space Babies, which follows on from The Church on Ruby Road. We then have The Devil's Cord, Boom, 73 Yards, Dot and Bubble, Rogue, The Legend of Ruby Sunday, followed by The Empire of Death.
Oh, very nice. What a lovely season.
What a lovely season. That was a bit easier to read than one of our episode recaps.
It was. Okay, so here's how I've reordered it. I begin with The Church on Ruby Road, obviously. Yep. Mm-hmm. I then move into, because we had like a double launch two-parter, which I don't think was an issue necessarily. Like even for the Traitors, they did a bizarre choice for the Traitors, which was to do 1 episode live and then drop the second one on iPlayer, which I think was a mistake because the whole point of a show like the Traitors really is like the communal experience of talking about it and tweeting about it. So like not having both go out live was odd. But anyway, So keeping the double bill, I've done Rogue and then Boom. So Rogue first will need some changes because it'll need to be Ruby's first outing. I think you can keep a lot of the feeling of like, oh my God, this is Zoe Bridgerton. She's like, I thought you'd like time travel. Isn't that mad? And it's quite a light romp. So it's a good introduction to time travel. The stakes aren't too bananas. And then we go into Boom. Boom is a funny one because in this one we said that they had quite an established like 12 Clara relationship already. So we need to almost soften that and make the two of them maybe a little less trusting of one another at this stage in their journey. So that'll be an interesting difference. Then we're into a Dr. Light 73 Yards. Then we're into Dot and Bubble, which is Dr. Light again, which might be where the cracks are already starting to show in my ordering.
Listen, that's how they aired it. That's how they aired it.
And then we're into Space Babies. Now, this could mean that in the mid-season, I've lost a lot of my audience because we're now at the lowest point in my audience ranking. And then we come back up with the audience appreciation score to the Devil's Cord. I think the Devil's Cord is much better suited to this place in the season when we have a tighter relationship between the Doctor and Ruby, and we can introduce one of the gods coming back as kind of a precursor to the God of Gods coming back. Yeah. So I think this is a good place to put it. I think we can build a bit more anticipation for the Beatles story. It's a nice kind of always a twist moment to have a little sing-song before we go back into a darker two-parter. And then we have The Legend of Ruby Sunday and the Empire of Death.
That's so interesting. I'm so excited to dive into mine because I agree with a lot of what you said, but mine isn't necessarily the same. I mean, mine I've extended to a longer series as well, but like there's things that I have done differently. But one thing I really agree with you with is that when you reorder them, you'd have to like, you can't just copy and paste the story. You have to adapt the story. Can I tell you what I would do if I was doing it? So what I've done, as I was saying before, is I've taken the stories from season 1, 2024, and I've extended it and I've said, okay, well, what if this had, because we'll get into it in a bit, but I was like, you lose so much. Like, if you chop down series 1 to this length, you lose a lot, and I'll get into that later in the episode. But here's what I think season 1 would look like if it was given a 13-episode format with a Christmas special.
Oh, wow.
So I would open with episode 1, Church on Ruby Road, not as a special, just as the premiere episode, but I'd probably keep it the same length. You know how, was it series 9 that had an hour-long premiere episode? Oh no, it was Deep Breath. It was series 8 had an hour-long premiere episode. So I'd keep it that length, have it as the premiere, but not necessarily as a Christmas special. I mean, it can be if it wants, it doesn't really matter. So then for me, I would go into Space Babies. I think that thematically makes sense compared to like End of the World and what they're trying to do, like show her this new thing. Then I would go into Boom as the next one. So you have a little space thing, then the next one is her on an alien planet, but that be not long after Space Babies. So when she's like, wow, Ruby, your first alien planet, like it makes sense. It's a couple days into them being together. Then, and this is where it starts getting fun, then I'd have 73 Yards Part 1.
Yeah.
And I would break this into a 2-parter, arguably 73 yards and 74 yards. Who knows? And I would have the...
Does her distance change?
The distance changes between episodes. I'd have the cliffhanger be when Ruby's on the date and she sees Roderick William on the TV and she like realizes what she has to do. Then you have an entire episode to be 40-year-old Ruby saving the world. And you give that episode that time. Then... Episode 6, I would include a new episode. So we're adding 2 episodes, and I've decided I think it needs to be something fun, something silly, something quite light after the heft of 73 yards. Adipose Return. Because also, there's a reason why. I've got 2 new episodes in this lineup, and both of them are returning monsters, and the reason being, Series 1, you had the return of the Autons, you had the return of the Daleks, you had the return of the Emperor Daleks. That's 3 classic characters coming back, and we only got 1 classic character back in season 1 as we had it. So the Adipose Return, it's fun, it's silly, it's a bit to counterbalance 73 yards. Then we go into episode 7, Dot and Bubble. We have that. Then after that, we have another new episode, but instead of countering that with like a bom, you have kind of a similar tone, 73 yards, maybe a little bit more horror, Weeping Angel on a spaceship. 1 singular Weeping Angel on a spaceship, the lights going out, trying to get this angel, sort that out. I think that'd be a good one and done episode. Then, and this is where the big changes come, then episode 9, so still quite away from the finale, Legend of Ruby Sunday, episode 10, Empire of Death. It's not the finale of my lineup.
Wow.
This isn't the finale. For me, Sutek is a returning villain that warrants a 2-part finale, but they're not the god of all gods. And the way that I would write this, they're not the being of all beings, the god of all gods. I probably would also get rid of the fact they've been on the TARDIS forever, but that's by the by. So, Sutek is a 2-parter. Then after that, episode 11, you have Rogue as the penultimate episode to the 2-part finale. Then for me, my 2-parter finale is The Devil's Cord Part 1 and Part 2. And I think that Maestro would be my series finale of season 1. They're not a god big enough to destroy the universe and defeat everything. And I also would make sure Sutek doesn't do that in the middle of the season. But they are a big enough threat, especially coming from the Toymaker and the specials that came before, that they warrant being the villain of a finale. And I would make the halfway point, the cliffhanger, when the Doctor takes Ruby back to present day and they see that the Earth is destroyed and this is the land that Maestro's in. Then you have the next episode to entirely undo that. And then finally, because we still get one more episode, I'd then do Joy to the World.
Okay. All right. That's nice.
Yeah.
Love it. Why is Ruby not in Joy to the World when she find out about her mum? Does she still find out in the mid-season?
She'd find out about the mum at the end of The Devil's Cord Part 2. You can have, I think, because you're expanding that story, you get more time to give a reason. I haven't thought of the reason off the top of my head. I'd have to put some pen to paper. But you would have more time in the second part of that to unlock some information about her mum, and then she chooses to stay at the end of that episode when they're back in present day. And it has something to do with the 1960s. Something to do with the 1960s, has something to do with her mum. Maybe her mum's a bit older, and...
Much older.
Much older, and it was like an accidental pregnancy. I was like, I don't know, who knows? It could be that
she
it was
wasn't
like a
teenager, she was 45.
Well, this is the thing. She's a much older mother. Who knows? But she'd choose to say at the end of that, and then we'd have Joy to the World basically as much as we had it. And that's what I would do to rejig season 1 to match series 1.
You know what I think is a really welcome addition? I think I saw a tweet about this and I thought, correct. We now have so much nostalgia to draw on from the noughties and 2010s. Like, if you think that 2005 is going to be 20 years ago this year, it's becoming our own classic Who for a certain category of us who are like, I remember watching Rose, and so, you know, Millie Gibson's like, well, I was born that year. So for some of us, it's becoming quite vintage. So I think Adipose is like a great example of one to bring back. There's loads of just iconic monsters like that people who are now adults will remember from back in day, like the Slitheen and all of those.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really, really fun idea. I think that there's something as well about, I think, separating Sutek from the mystery of Ruby's birth is probably quite good to do.
Yeah.
And then also Maestro can go ahead and do all the same things without the hidden song in her heart. Unless, of course, this is all going to be wrapped up in season 2. But it's an interesting way of doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I still hope it'll get wrapped up in season 2. And like I was saying, there's still things I would change about season 1, but I don't want this episode of Wholala to be, let's rip into season 1 and see what we change, because I just think there's so much interesting material comparing it to series 1, not in like episode quality or the monsters or whatever, but purely in format and what you get and what you lose. I'm excited to hear some more about how you've rejigged some episodes, and then later I'll go into what I would do if I was going to condense series 1.
Right. So here's me condensing series 1, 2005. This was really, really hard, and it makes you realize how much you lose, frankly.
Yep.
Like in the 13 episode run, I think when we talk about like, I just don't feel as connected as I used to feel, like, to this companion doctor relationship, it's like, well, yeah, because it's several hours shorter, and there are like months of their lives that don't happen on screen. So episode 1 is still Rose, the same as it was. Then I keep the end of the world because I think it's an iconic introduction, because I like that she gets that kind of culture shock. She questions what the hell she's doing. She almost dies in the process. She has to really reevaluate, do I still want to do this? It's like the scariest way to show time travel. Like, she is so in at the deep end. She is so far from home and so removed from her own context. I love that. Then we need to counter that with Back in Time. I like that it was always like one to the future, one to the past. So keeping the Unquiet Dead, we need to leave that in there. I don't know, it's like critical for like a series arc beyond the fact that we have to nail the point of like the history can end right here, right now in 1890, whatever it is. Like this could be the end of everything. So that's good. Now, for time constraints, we have to make Aliens of London and World War III a one-parter, which is a bummer, but I think it's possible. Yeah, I think it could be squeezed. It's just a shame to have to squeeze it.
You're already halfway through your series.
I'm halfway through my series, which is so upsetting. Also, like, we'll go into this more about like what works about all these stories. Dalek, I think it's just an all-time great, and because they're going to come back as the villain at the end of the series, we need to, I think, do what this did so well, which is really underline the threat of a single Dalek. So a whole Dalek empire is much scarier, and we need to also like understand who the threat was in this time war, and not, not be. So I think that's really good, and also it's a good character exploration for the Ninth Doctor because you get all the rage out and everything else.
Yeah.
6, I like Father's Day because it's a great conflict between Rose and the Doctor, and Rose gets to be selfish and gets to do something wrong, and she gets to behave like impulsively in a way that probably a lot of the viewers would also behave, that is wrong, but also in that moment feels right. Like, why would you watch your father die given the chance? And then we have to go straight from Father's Day into the ending. So I've lost. I mean, it also the series is kind of a sad ending. We've had to chop the long game, which obviously doesn't work because we need the long game to set up the finale. Also, just a fantastic story where we really see Rose growing into the companion role. She's starting to assimilate the Doctor's position. She's starting to get a bit cocky. She's starting to get a bit braggy around Adam. Like, oh yeah, done this before. Yeah, space station, feels like it. Yeah, you can hear the engines. So I love all that. We lose that. That's a shame. Boomtown is technically dispensable, but I've really grown to like it since we reviewed it a long time ago now. But I think that also sets up a TARDIS team very nicely. Yeah. And unfortunately, we've lost the TARDIS team completely because I've had to say goodbye to a 2-parter with the gas mask zombies. So we've lost Captain Jack, and we've lost the 1940s, which is a real shame. So we've lost the story where everyone lives. And then I felt we couldn't compress the finale. That just didn't feel right to me at all. So that's where we've ended up. But it really was weird because I was like, that's crazy. We lose the setup for the finale. because either we're going to have to lose Dalek or we're going to have to lose the long game. So we're going to have to lose the Platform 5 setup, or we're going to have to lose the villain being revealed in an earlier episode and understand the stakes. We have to lose an iconic story like the gas mask zombies, the empty child, which is crazy to me. Boomtown, it can go, sure. It's a shame. I like it. I think it's a nice chance to really let the characters shine, and the nice domestic story that we really like. But it's weird, isn't it? How much you have to kind of wave goodbye to.
It's so weird. I get everything that you've done in that, but it also feels so sacrilegious because you're losing so much. It's interesting hearing how you did it, how I do it. So for me, condensing down series 1 to be more like season 1, I've kept Rose, like you said, and I've also kept the end of the world because I agree with you that I think that it's a really good job at showing how scared she is. And I think you look at them, you can't not look at the mirroring comparison between that and Ruby on the space station getting to call her mum. And when you watch Rose, and I think the thing you're missing with Ruby is the sort of fear that Rose has. I think you can't really replace that. For me, I've done some madness here. Episode 3, The Empty Child, one-parter.
Oh,
so that's
back to the past,
trip to the future, then trip to the past with the empty child as a one-parter. And I think it's possible, but again, I think you lose so much. I think the big thing with when you're condensing 2-parters is that you just lose a lot. Then you go from the empty child. I'm so sorry, Slitheen. You go straight to Dalek. You cut the Slitheen 2-parter.
Oh, completely. They're gone.
They're gone. They're not in my series. They go straight to Dalek. And the thing that I'm learning through this cut down is that you lose a lot of fun in the series, but the hard-hitting, gritty stuff of series 1 is arguably some of its best stuff. So when you take away the other bits, it becomes quite a dark, gritty series, and the tone you feel by the end of it isn't, I think, what's intended necessarily, because you miss a lot of the fun. But then you go from Dalek, and then this was a really difficult decision. I've kept the long game in my lineup.
Oh, yeah.
I've cut others off. Reason being, like you said, it is necessary to set up the finale, and I don't think you can work that plot into another episode unless you wanted to, and I'm not doing this, unless you want to make the long game part 1 of the 2-part finale and Parting of the Ways part 2, but I think that'd be too messy and difficult. So in my lineup, the long game is kept, which I don't think is the best episode of the series. There's other episodes I've cut which I like more, but I've kept the long game. Then I go into Father's Day because it's an amazing episode. Like you said, it shows Rose being impulsive. And then you go straight to Babel with Parting of the Ways, because I agree with you. I don't think you can cut that down into a 2-parter. No. And by mirroring season 1, you have that as the 2-part finale. You needed to have the Dalek episode to set that up. You needed to have the long game to set that up. And I think that much as you have the Susan Twist thread throughout season 1, that's maybe what's missing, is having episodes dedicated to the end of it, setting up the finale. I've also thought about, in season 1, we got 2 Doctor Light episodes. Much as this series is already really cut down. So you've lost Boomtown, which is the sequel to the Slitheen episode that didn't happen. You lose Is the Doctor Dances as the 2-parter of the Child episode. And you've also lost The Unquiet Dead as well. I've taken that out. It's gone. Sorry, Dickens. But the 2 episodes that I would make Doctor Light, number 1, Father's Day, because it's not Doctor Light, but it becomes it later on. So you would just have that very early in the episode. You get the Reapers to take the Doctor very early in the episode.
Yes, that makes sense.
And then the majority of the episode would be just the Doctor. The majority of the episode would be just Rose and Pete.
It kind of works. It does. It's kind of terrible, but you could have Rose and Pete work it out for themselves.
It becomes the 73 yards of this season. The other episode I've decided to make Doctor Light, The Long Game.
Okay.
That Doctor Light. So that one, you focus a lot more on Rose and Adam in that. The Doctor maybe goes off and does his own thing. I don't know. But it's much more about Rose, Adam, and the surrounding characters, the ensemble cast. Like you have in Dot and Bubble, you're mainly focusing on the ensemble cast. You think of Suki Matre Cantrell. You think of all the other characters, Kathika, the editor, and you're focusing more on them. And what I take away from that is, you lose so much of good Doctor stuff. But we did lose so much good Doctor stuff, so it's interesting to think about.
The consequences when we get to the Bad Wolf ending, and he goes, "Oh my God, I made this world." He'd have to turn to Rose and go, "Oh my God,
you made it.
You made this world. What did you do?"
You're right. It isn't my fault. It's your fault.
Get in the church. Wow. You'd lose that line.
Yeah, I just think that's the takeaway from this, is that the amount of stuff that you lose.
What have we learned?
We've learned that, If I ever go looking for my heart's desire again, I won't look any further than my own backyard, because if it isn't there, I never really lost it to begin with. Is that right? That's all it is.
Let's package this all up and get this sent over to some Disney execs, making our case for at least a 10-episode series.
This is it. Yeah.
So I've now gone ahead. Any listeners? Knock, knock. You still there? Wake up! Wake up!
I think this is interesting stuff. I like talking about this.
I think this is super interesting. I'm joking. I'm enjoying this. And when I'm enjoying it so much, I'm like, surely no one else is. I've now gone ahead and matched the stories, right, thematically, of season 1 and series 1. Now, the point of a successful season 1 is not to, and I'm not saying that season 1 wasn't successful either. Let me just preempt you there. You can't catch me. I think it's interesting though to see what the emotional beats were of series 1 and how they pair with season 1. So, Rose pairs with the Church on Ruby Road. Domestic story. We introduce the companion. We invite them to come and travel. Brilliant. Easy. And we have like a villain who's like done and resolved within that story.
Yeah.
Then we have the end of the world and space babies. Very similar. Off into the future. Get a bit of a culture shock. What you don't have in this one is Ruby kind of really question, what am I doing? I nearly what she does say, we did almost die, but it's kind of a joke. Unsure if you want to keep going. Like she's absolutely chomping to keep going. Like there's no like teary moment of like, this is all going to be gone. What you think will all be there? You know, cars and concrete. Oh my God, chips. Like that lovely moment isn't there. It's just a silly, funny moment with the key. Anyway, shall we do a little key? Shall we do a little time travel? The Unquiet Dead pairs with the Devil's Chord because it is, I think, the story where we realize that the world could end in the past. You could also say that, no, I think that is the pairing. It's kind of rogue. It's kind of not rogue. None of them really match the Unquiet Dead. It was the best one I could come up with.
I think that I know, like, tonally it doesn't match, but I think thematically and story-wise, because that's mainly what we're looking at in this episode, that match. I think the big takeaway is that the world can end in the past, and that you do get in both.
Yeah. Aliens of London World War III pairs with 73 Yards. It's the impact on your family of vanishing with a time traveler. It's humanity responding to an alien threat. And it's political satire. What you do lose, you don't have humanity responding to an alien threat in 73 Yards.
Yes, that's true.
That's not there. No one else knows about the woman apart from Ruby. And that is a part of the world building that I've said before I think we've lost, which is a shame, is that this was like, oh, this is where it all changes, 21st century. And there's that shot, and I can't remember what's on his banner, but it's in the Powell estate, and someone like it's the night that everyone's like found out about an alien spaceship in the Thames, and everyone's kind of having a party. And I can't remember what he's got dangled on his banner. It's like something like "We Come in Peace" or something, or I don't know what it is. He's written something on it, and it's like just seeing how very ordinary people, as if they were straight out of EastEnders, are reacting to aliens, and I think that is so interesting. Yeah. So I miss that. Obviously, at this point in world, it's also been 20 years, so people should know. And we have UNIT, and what do people think they do? But I want to find out more about what people think about alien life in this world, given we have a UNIT that is so massive and obvious. Dalek doesn't have a match, I don't think, because this is introducing a classic villain in the present day or the near future, making them scarier than ever before we bring them back in the finale. We don't have any precursor to Sutek. So if there was going to be something that we borrowed here, I think it would be something that set up our finale villain, and maybe it does set up Sutek. It gives people a little bit of a clue it's coming, or makes Sutek a consequence of something that they do in this story. So Sutek doesn't just kind of randomly happen, like, I've been on your ship since the 70s, Doctor. This was also coming up today. We were watching this episode, we were watching Time of the Doctor, and Josh was like, is Sutek there now? I was like, he is there now. He is there.
Oh, God.
So he's always there. He's any New Who episode we've watched, Sutek is there. Sutek went to the Powell estate several times.
I think there's a shot, there's a shot in Empire of Death where you see the TARDIS that would have had Sutek on it on Bad Wolf Bay. And I'm like, oh my God, Sutek's been in the parallel world. Okay, right. That's
He has. He has. The Long Game pairs with Dot and Bubble in that it is a dystopian future where humans should be more advanced but are being held back by something. In Dot and Bubble, held back by themselves. In The Long Game, held back by sinister overlords. Political commentary, consequences that set up the ending. You don't get consequences that set up the ending in Dot and Bubble. You get it in the long game. Father's Day, there's no match. I mean, in general, there's no match. But
I was going to say there's no match ever.
there's no match for that, Hunty. But the companion using time travel for a selfish reason, resulting in conflict with the Doctor and a sad emotional core. This is so ripe for Miss Ruby Sunday. Why have you not tried to use the TARDIS, though you know it's forbidden, to see your mum? You know it's
and
right
they set
there.
it up as well. Like, it felt like such a Chekhov's gun where it was like it was in Space Babies, I think, where the Doctor was like, I can't take you back to see your mum. I can't.
There's one place we can never ever go.
It was almost like Russell was saying to the audience, you're not getting another Father's Day. Like, it was almost like he was saying, we're not doing that again.
I'd love to, but Disney said no. So we can't. And then you have the empty child the Doctor dances. Now, I thought hard about this one. I think the only way you can link it is that it is something of an inversion of the theme of Dot and Bubble. The ending resolution of the Doctor dances is everybody lives. And in Dot and Bubble, nobody is saved. Yeah. So a bit of a horror story. There's also that element of like, who's the true villain in The Empty Child the Doctor dances? It's kind of just like a confused ambulance ship. And in Dot and Bubble, it's a robot AI that we kind of root for because he hates the racist that it's attached to. So I don't know, it's not quite the same. And also what we get in The Empty Child and Doctor dances that we don't get, and it would have been really interesting to get in a more developed TARDIS duo, though it wouldn't have worked in 8 episodes because we barely get enough of a relationship, I think, developing between Ruby and the Doctor, would have been to get a new member added into the TARDIS at this point who joins us for the finale.
Maybe that's when Belinda would have come in.
Right. Give us one more.
Another one, thank you.
Another one, thank you. Jack, I think, was interesting that he added a genuinely different dimension, and we've said like so many times, but it felt like added like a bit of like a tactical advantage to the Doctors and the TARDIS team.
I think about it, and pretty much every single New Who Doctor Companion pairing has had an addition other than the Doctor and Ruby, which I guess is why they're doing what they're doing with season 2. So you think about it. In series 1, we had... Sorry, I know I'm interrupting your episode thing, but we had the Doctor, Rose, and then Jack joined. Series 2, we had the Doctor and Rose, but that was sort of following on from the previous season. So within the Doctor and Rose, we had Jack join them. With the Doctor and Martha, we again had Jack join them. Then with the Doctor and Donna, we had Martha join them. With the Doctor and Amy, we had Rory join them. With the Doctor and Clara... arguably you had River join them at points. Like you had Clara meeting River's song. It wasn't in the same way.
She came along.
But she did pop up every so often. And then you had Danny join them. So Danny, much as he wasn't on their adventures with them, he was the returning character that kind of filled that role. With Bill, I'd say, with Bill you had Nardole the whole time. But you also arguably had Missy join them in a way that fit that kind of Captain Jack-esque role. And then with the companions of the 13th Doctor, with Yaz, Graham and Ryan, Jack joined them for a couple of episodes. But then you obviously had Dan join Yaz when Yaz was with the...
And then Jack became Vinda.
And then Jack became Vinda. Then you had Vinda join them. So within all of the Doctor Companion duos, you've had an element of a new person coming in. So I am really curious to see what happens with Belinda Chandra in the
Me
new
too,
series.
Because Ruby's not gone. And in a way, if we go backwards and think about where in the season this came, we've had 8 episodes of season 1 plus Children of Ruby Road. This is probably about where Jack would have come in. So Belinda coming in now kind of makes sense. A little late, but it's not far off. So I mean, if we flatten and ignore the series boundaries, it might be that we watch series 1 and 2 together and we get halfway through season 2 and go, oh, now it's clicking. I'd be interested to see like what story points from this get picked up in season 2 instead, given that a lot of these do match with something else. Boomtown is not in this either, which is where our new TARDIS team have a low-stakes romp on Earth that explores how travel has changed the companion. That's how I summarize that one, with a returning villain from earlier in the season. So we'll see. I guess they'll like find one of the goblins and they'll be like, Janice, we have to take you home to be executed. And she's like, no, like, you don't understand. Like, we have to eat the babies, whatever. And then
that really got me.
It'd be funny, like one survivor goblin.
It's the one that went, he can eat me, he makes me swoon.
And them just being like, it's disgusting how you thirst for him.
And it's Captain Jack.
Then he's the Captain Jack. Right, he joins the TARDIS team in an unexpected way. It's a playful stake. So, Bad Wolf, The Parting of the Ways, pairs with Empire of Death, Legend of Ruby Sunday. Outcome of the earlier story reveals the Doctor has made things worse. That kind of happened here because we had, the Doctor landing everywhere kind of caused Sutek to create an impression everywhere.
Yeah, he has the moment in Empire of Death where he looks over and he's like, I did this.
But not really. Like,
you did it, but
how could you have known? How could you possibly have known?
God, we didn't.
And
know.
then balance of humor / parody alongside a dark dystopia and terrible stakes. No, it didn't do this either. Like, the opening of Bad Wolf opens with the Doctor in the Big Brother house. Like, that is immediate camp 5 out of 5 TV for me. There's no humor in the Empire of Death, Legend of Ruby Sunday that I can remember. Did I forget any?
No, you get some like tender moments. Like you get moments with Ruby and Rose that are sweet. You get sweet moments, but you don't have funny. Like,
but you've got to
like
make
Rose
me
being.
You've got to make me laugh.
Rose being like the Anne droid, but then you also get this amazing balance of like Rose thinking it's just a game and laughing, and like, how should I know? Ha 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 ha! When all these people are like on the verge of tears, and the controller is like, oh my god, I don't think she knows. And then she realizes when you get a question wrong, you get executed, and that like the shock between the fun, joy, silly of the first 10 minutes, and then the stakes, the serious stakes, not the playful stakes that you realize are there. It's just like I think that was really missing for me.
Right. So I think maybe the balance. Anyway, I just a comment. I don't know if you needed it. It's just an observation about something that was there that isn't now. And then we have Companion in Jeopardy, Big Bad revealed. Sure, we have that again. And then what we didn't have in this one is Companion is saved, only to do an Uno reverse, and the Companion saves the Doctor. I don't think that happened in this one. It felt like the Doctor was very much the hero with Ruby in attendance.
Yeah, I mean, she put the collar on the dog, but also she was putting a collar on the
she
dog.
Did. But like, under the instructions of the Doctor according to their plan, right? It wasn't like it's gone wrong, like now what? And then Ruby going like, ding, I know what I need to do. That said, Ruby, I guess, kind of saves the world in 73 yards, so she has that moment elsewhere in the season.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. When I heard in the trailer where she was like, I know what I'm meant to do. I'm going to save the world. I thought we were going to get a Rose Tyler eating up the TARDIS moment, gobble, 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 because it sounded like we were going that way. So I'm curious again. It seems, I don't know, I don't want to talk about set photos or anything, but it seems like the series finale for the next series.
But I will.
No. I'm not. I'm saying it seems like the series finale for the next series could lean into this story of the Companion being in the one in control. And I don't want to say how or why, it's all speculation at this point, but I'm curious to see. I think a lot, and I've said this from the get-go, I think that season 1 and 2 of New Doctor Who were kind of booked as a package deal, and Russell wrote one story that spans across 2 series. So much as we're looking back and comparing the series now, I think we're getting half a story. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I'm not saying one way or the other, but I do think this story of the Doctor, Ruby, and Ensemble hasn't finished yet.
Yes, I agree with you. I so agree with you.
One little thing, I know we're going to run short on time a little bit. We've really yapped for a while. That I thought was interesting. I didn't notice until I was talking to a friend of pod, Josh, about me rewatching series 1. I was saying, oh my God, I really love it. He went, yeah, it's one of the few Earthbound series. And I was like, oh, do you mean the third Doctor series one? I thought he was confused. I thought you meant John Pertwee's first series where he's locked to Earth. He was like, no, Chris Ferguson's series, it's Earthbound. And I was like, no, it's not. It goes all over the place. And then I realised, Rose set on Earth, end of the world, they're watching the Earth. Like, they're on the space base to watch the Earth. Unquite Dead Earth, Aliens London World War III Earth, Dalek Earth, The Long Game, space base looking at Earth. Like, they're there to watch Earth. Father's Day Earth, M-Child Earth, Doctor Answer Earth, Boomtown Earth, Beowulf Parting the Ways, Earth. It's all surrounding Earth. And that made me go down a little rabbit hole of Russell's writing for Doctor Who. And it's actually so rare you go on an alien planet. In the second series, they go to a new planet. The first episode, what is it? It's New Earth. It's a new version of Earth. The only planet we go on to is Crop Tor, which is a human colony there. So fine, that's another planet. Then you go to series,
but it is humans.
But it is humans. It's a human colony. Then you go to series 3, and you go through. The only planet that you have is the planet in Utopia, which is a human colony trying to find,
colony.
a utopia.
In a quarry in Wales.
In a quarry in Wales, maybe. Then you go to series 4, you get Planet of the Ood, which it's a much more like alien planet. But again, human colony, who are the ones that have taken the Ood, and they've set up base there. So much as it is an alien world, it's one that humans have come to. Then you get Silence in the Library, Forest of the Dead. It's a massive library. It's a massive library. So when you look at Russell's writing for Doctor Who, and that's not to say that other showrunners don't do it, like, episode 2 of Moffat's first era, you go to Starship UK, it is a starship, but it's all in UK. But you do start to dot around a bit and then go to different planets. And I know that a lot of that has to do with, budgetary constraints. And like, even within Moffat's era, again, you go to this hotel in the God Complex, which is an alien planet, but it's a hotel. But then you start to see places like Appalachia and, in the two-part Alien Army of Ghosts, you get that one shot of the Doctor and Rose on this big alien planet with these flying like stingrays, where he asks her if she's going to stay with him forever, and she says yes. And you hear about Woman Wept, this planet you went on, and it just made me realise how earthbound Russell's writing is, because you see it as well in season 1. The only interplanetary episode is, well, episodes, I guess, is Boom, but again, religious human colony. And then within Empire of Death, they go to other planets, so you see other planets within there. But it is interesting just to see how earthbound it is. I never noticed it.
Yeah. I guess write what you know, right? Like if what you feel comfortable writing is human relationships, then you probably don't want to write yourself into a box where you're like, right, they've arrived on a fully alien world with only aliens. That said, like we've met so many aliens in Doctor who behave and speak just like humans. Like the Time Lords are not humans, etc. But it is an interesting observation, isn't it?
Yeah.
How different writers have done it different. I feel like this is so off the top of my head, but I feel like Chibnall loved alien planets.
He did. Let me go through. I've got a little list of them all here. He certainly one thing that I really love about Chibnall's era is that even within Earth, he makes Earth bigger. So I feel like a lot of it is very UK. We've got Starship UK and and then even within his first series, you have episodes like The Demons of the Punjab, where and in Flux you travel across the whole globe. In Resolution, the beginning of Resolution, it opens with like 4 different countries all stowing away bits of Dalek, and even within an episode, like I'm thinking of It Takes You even within episodes, like I'm thinking of It Takes You Away. No, it's not Takes You Away. Which one is it? Even within episodes like Praxeus, you spend the episode dotting across so many different countries.
Yeah.
But you do have lots of international planets as well and stuff as well. So you have planets where you have the Suranga Conundrum, which is an international thing. You have Kablam, which is another world. You have It Takes You Away, which is another world. Partially in Norway, though. I will give you that part of it's in Norway. But I'd say it makes Doctor Who feel even more global within Earth.
Yeah. I so agree, actually. I think they got into a really good swing of filming internationally and putting us in different places around the world. It does feel like what we have is supposed to be quite London bound at the minute. And I think you can do the domestic bit, and you can do the small stakes in the family and still pepper in a lot of variety around it. So I think that's something they've done really, really well in newer stuff for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. And again, this whole episode of Wholala, I'm not saying my opinion one way or the other necessarily, but it's interesting to have seen in Chibnall's era it becomes so global, and then to go back to filming in Cardiff and Bristol but making it look like London. And it's just interesting to go back to as an observation of looking at everything that's come from 2005 onwards from like a bird's eye view, seeing the shape it took and then where it's come back to. Of course, we come back to a returning showrunner, but it's just interesting seeing the patterns that form.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
God, well, what great fun we've had here. Have we made any suggestions that the BBC can action?
Dear
Mr. BBC.
Dear Babaka, please let us be the new showrunner. We love the show lots and lots, and we make it good again. Give us lots of money. Mwah.
They're like, yeah, let me just count on one hand all the new ideas. That was
an adipose return. It's
an adipose return. Yep, that's one.
And Weeping Angels on a spaceship. I gave 2.
Oh yeah,
but both of them were built on previous showrunners stuff.
Technically had that one before, but no.
But yeah, no. I hope you've enjoyed this, dear listener. This episode came from the back of having these conversations and being like, I've not heard this that much, and I'm really enjoying having these conversations. So I wanted to have it on the pod and become a bigger conversation with you. I would love you to reach out to us. Please let us know, what do you think when you compare season 1 and series 1? Do you think it compares to another series even better? You can let us know on all of our social media. We're at Wholala Pod everywhere. We are on X, we're on Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. You can also email us at wholalapod@gmail.com. Let us know what you think. You can also send us your Doctor Who fan anecdotes and rewatch old episodes of the podcast on our YouTube channel at Wholala Pod.
Yes, you can. And if you enjoyed this week's episode, you can rate us 5 stars wherever you get your podcasts. You can hit the follow button to get notified when we drop new episodes as well. You can buy us a coffee if you really, really like us at ko-fi.com/Wholala. What's the other thing you can do? Is that it? Oh, share with a friend.
Share with a friend. You got
Share
there.
with a friend and say, have you heard these takes on season 1? This very much aligns with what I think. Listen all the way through, including the ads.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for listening. Now we've got really, really fun plans for this season of Wholala. I don't want to dive into it too much, but a recurring theme that will be in quite a few of the episodes might leave you on the edge of your seats, and I'd recommend you don't blink. So that's all I'll leave you with before we go to next week.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
We will see you then. Oh my god, I just blinked! No!
Oh no. Oh, Sam? Sam? Oh well.